How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or an Encoder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. As always, if you guys don't want access to the private repository for this project, there is a link in the description down below that I'll walk you through exactly how to gain access to that. With that being said, let's go and hop into working on today. Today, we're going to go ahead and continue working on our image editor modal thing here. Last episode, we just got it so we can actually go ahead and see this guy pop up and see the image inside here. Today, we're going to go ahead and try to be able to move this thing around inside of our modal. And we're also going to go ahead and get like a little border done, and then maybe even start working on the slider. We're not going to get resizing and saving the image done today. That's going to be the most complicated part. This one is still going to be a bit complicated to figure out all of the spacing and stuff to get this one working. So we still need to be on our A game, but it's not going to be the worst of the worst yet. With that being said, let's go and hop into the code and get to work here. Today we are starting out once again inside of our image editor component, and what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go down below where we have our calculate dimensions, and I'm just going to put it here. We're going to go ahead and make a new function, and it's going to be called image clicked, like so. And we do need to add in some state as well, so I will add that after I set up this function really quick. So image clicked, and I told myself not to forget this. So underneath our max margin and max x margin, max y margin, we're going to say const and margin x, and set margin x equal to use state of a number, and then this will be 0. And then same thing, const margin y, and set margin y will equal to use state of a number and 0. So we're going to need this later on next episode to calculate where to put our points to render the new image. So that being said, let's hop back down here to our image clicked. So we're going to go ahead and set up a window dot and then add event listener, and this is going to be a mouse move, mouse move, and this is going to be image move. We're going to create this down below, so don't worry. And then we're also going to go ahead and say window dot add event listener, and this is going to be mouse down, and on mouse down it's going to be image done moving. And actually this should be mouse up, I believe. Let me fix this. So whenever we unclick it, we're going to go ahead and mouse up. Now, of course, this is mad at us because we didn't set these up. So let's just go ahead and create these really quick. So we'll have a function, and this one is going to take in an function of image move, and this is going to take in an e of any. And then we're also going to go have a function of image done moving, and I spelled done wrong. I'll fix that in a second. Done moving e any as well, and let's go ahead and fix this. So instead of down, it should be image done. Okay, so now it's not mad at us anymore. So now let's go ahead and do the fun stuff of making it so we can move the image around the screen. We're gonna go ahead and say let previous x maybe equal to, and it's gonna be e dot client x, and we're gonna go ahead and say let previous y equal to e dot client y. So we're getting the point on the screen where our mouse was to start out. We're going to let new x equal to previous x minus e dot client x. So we're going to go ahead and calculate where we've moved the mouse to x, and the same thing with y. So new y is equal to previous y minus e dot client, and then y. So we're going to go ahead and basically calculate how far we have moved the mouse, so the difference between the two. Then we're going to go ahead and check our image ref. So image ref and our image ref dot current. Inside of here, we're going to do some work. So we're going to go ahead and say margin x is going to be equal to plus image ref dot current dot style, and then dot margin left. Then we need to go ahead and split this because there's a pixel on the end of it. So we're going to split it at the p, and then we're going to go and get the first part, and then the plus there is going to turn it into a number. We're going to get margin margin y is equal to plus image ref dot current dot style dot margin top. Once again, we're going to split this by p and get the first position. Now, we probably could have named this something differently because as you can see up here, we're also using margin X and margin Y. And also I forgot to actually set margin X and margin Y in here. So really we should probably like call this something else other than margin X and margin Y, but it is what is. It's scoped well enough that it doesn't hurt anything. But if you guys want to rename this margin X and margin Y to something else, you could. So now we're going to go ahead and update the margin X and margin Y with the new coordinates. So margin X is going to be minus equal to new X, and margin Y will equal minus equal to new Y, and we're going to minus it because it's kind of weird how the coordinates work. If you go down, we want to add, but if we go up, we want to subtract, because the top left is 0 and the bottom right will be at the most. So that's why we're basically doing the opposite. Now we're going to do some checks. So if math.abs of our margin X is greater than or equal to our max X margin. So if we have gone past our max, we're going to go ahead and check again if margin X is less than 0. So if we've gone below 0, we're going to say margin X is equal to our negative max margin X. So that's as far as we can go. Otherwise, we'll say margin X is equal to max X margin. Right, so if we've gone too far in the negative direction, so up, if we've gone past 0, 0, we're going to go ahead and set it to like 0, 0. If we've gone past like like if it's the x's, if we've gone past the right side, we'll go ahead and set it to the right side. We need to do the same thing again. So if math.abs, and this time is going to be margin Y, so up and down, is greater than or equal to max Y margin, we're going to do the same thing. So if our margin Y is less than 0, then we're going to go ahead and say margin Y is equal to negative max Y margin. And then we're going to do the opposite. So else, and then here we'll say margin Y is equal to max Y margin. So that's going to go ahead and set up kind of like our spacing for us. We still have a little bit more to do. Now we're going to say image ref dot current, and then we're going to say dot style dot margin left is going to be equal to backticks $ curly brace margin X px. Let's make sure the px is outside, and we're going to say image ref dot current dot style dot margin top is equal to backticks $ curly brace margin Y px. So we're going to go ahead and update that. We're going to go ahead and say set margin X to margin X and set margin Y to margin Y. Now, if this is acting up in this episode after it was working when I was testing it, I'll probably rename this margin X and Y, but it was working, so I'm not too concerned about it. And we're going to say previous X is equal to E dot client dot X, and then previous Y is equal to E dot client Y. We're going to go ahead and reset that once again. So now we just need to go ahead and set up when we're done moving. So here we're going to say window dot remove event listener, and we're going to go ahead and remove the mouse mouse move, and this is going to be image move, and we're going to go ahead and window dot remove event listener for our mouse up, and then this is obviously image done moving. If we're not moving around, we do not want the event listeners on there because we don't want to be listening to those. So there's that part, and now we get to do a really not fun part of setting up the border, and this part is going to be really ugly. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to set up a style component. That way we can kind of dynamically set the width of the border and everything and the height of the border. So we're going to say const styled and image editor container. We probably could have called this like border, but it is what it is. It's going to be styled, and we need to go ahead and import this from styled components. I think it comes from there, and this is going to be a .div, and then inside of this we're going to go ahead and take in a height, maybe a height, which is a number, I can't type, and a width, which is a number, like so, and then we need backticks. Okay, so we're going to start out pretty simple. So we're going to have box sizing, which will just be border dash box. We're going to have a width of 600, which is like the size of our screen here, or of our modal. Height will be 600 once again, which is the size of the modal. And then now we need to go ahead and create the background. So background is going to be made up of a whole bunch of gradients, and this is going to be really fun. So our bottom gradient here, this is going to go ahead and be linear dash gradient. And I'm probably going to screw this up, so this terrifies me. So we're going to have our linear gradient. We're going to have RGBA of 211, 211, 211. This is what Twitter uses, 0.5. And then we're going to have RGBA again of the same thing, 211, 211, 211, 0.5. And then this is where the fun part starts. Well, quote unquote fun. And I'm going to make a couple changes to my code on the other side really quick that I'm looking at, just to make it easy to read, and then we'll get going on this. Okay, now I can see a lot better, and hopefully I don't screw this up. So first off, we're going to start a $sign curly brace, props. We're going to go ahead and make an arrow function, and this is going to be 600 minus props.width, and then divided by 2. And then outside of the curly braces and everything, we're going to go ahead and say px. And then we're going to go ahead and have $sign curly brace. Once again, props arrow function. And here we're going to have 600 minus, and then we're going to go ahead and have a couple of parentheses. And here we're going to say 600 minus props dot width divided by 2 once again. And then this is going to be px. And then slash, and hopefully I did that right. And then after the slash, we're going to have $sign curly brace, props arrow function, and here we props.width, px, whoops. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and have $sign curly brace, props arrow function, and here we'll have 600 minus props.width, and actually, this is props.height. That's why I said we need to be careful about this. And this is going to be divided by 2. So let me actually go ahead and wrap this in parentheses. And I'll go through and double check all of these here in a second. This will be px. And finally, we'll have no dash repeat and no dash repeat. We have a comma. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go through this again. This is basically going to set up a border around the top. So 600 minus props.width divided by 2, that's fine. 600 minus 600, and this one should be height, not width. So good thing we double check that. 600 minus props.height divided by 2, and then subtract 600 from that. We have props.width, and then last one is 600 minus props.width divided by 2. Okay, now we have the next one. So the next one, once again, will be a linear dash gradient. And to save a little bit of time, we're going to have the same RGB. So let's go ahead and copy this guy and paste him in there. And then this one will be $sign curly brace, props, go ahead and make our arrow function. And then this one again will be parentheses 600 minus props.width divided by 2, and then px. Then we're going to go ahead and have 0px slash, and then here we'll have $sign curly brace, $sign curly brace, props, arrow function, and then this will be props.width, px, and then the last one will be $sign curly brace and props, and then we'll have our arrow function, and we'll have some parentheses, 600 minus props dot, and then height divided by 2, and then once again, no dash repeat, and no dash repeat. Add another comma there. Next one will be linear dash gradient, and I should have probably added our comments on here. So this one is bottom. Let me go ahead and scroll over and add the gradient. The next one underneath of it is the top. Let's scroll over here. Let's add our comment here just so it's a little bit clear. So this is the top. And then now we're going to go ahead and start working on the left. So let me scroll over here. So now our left side gradient, or the border on the left. So here, this one, we're going to have 0px, 0px. And then we're going to have $sign curly brace and props arrow function. And we're going to have some parentheses. Props actually is going to be 600 minus props.width divided by 2. And we'll have a px here, and then we're going to have 600 px and no dash repeat and no dash repeat. Okay, And then finally, we'll have our right. So the right side, this is going to be, once again, a linear dash gradient. Let's go ahead and paste in our RGB. And then here, I don't know if, okay, that's fine. And I might copy paste exactly what I have on the other screen just to double check that I did everything right. But $ curly brace and props. We'll go ahead and have our arrow function. Here, we're going to once again have parentheses, 600 minus, and then another double set parentheses, 600 minus props dot width, and then, excuse me, divided by 2 px. And then we're going to go ahead and have 0 px slash, and then $ curly brace, props, arrow function. And this one is going to be 600 minus props dot width divided by 2 px. And then here we'll have 600 px and no dash repeat, and then comma, and then finally we're going to have our background. So basically what we actually see over top of the image here, this will be linear dash gradient, and we're almost done, RGBA. And then this one is going to be 69, 255, 144, 0, RGBA. I don't know why Twitter does it this way, but it is what it is. 69, 255, 144, 0. This can be 0 px slash 600 px, no dash repeat, and no dash repeat. Now the odds of this working are probably pretty small, so that's going to be fun. And then we'll come down here and we have a couple more things to add in here of our overflow, which is going to be hidden. We're going to go ahead and have a position of absolute, and then we'll have a top 50%. We'll have a left 50%, and then a transform, which will be a translate, and negative 50%, maybe, comma, negative 50. And finally, I have a z dash index of 2 to go ahead and bring it above the rest of the stuff inside there. So now the odds of our gradient being broken is really high here. So I am a little bit concerned. Let's go ahead and bring this guy in. So down here, we're going to go ahead and have our styled image editor container. Our height is going to equal to our preview height, and our width is going to equal to our preview, if I could type, preview width, like so. And let's go ahead and save that up. So now in theory, we should have something working there. And then we're also going to go ahead and add in one more thing to wrap this guy up. We're going to have a div, the class name equal to, and this is going to be image dash editor dash wrapper, and it's going to have a style on it of a height of $ curly brace, preview height px, and it's going to go ahead and have a width of, and I need to put our backticks in here, backticks like so, add that in, there we go. And I broke this, that's fine, we'll fix it. And then here it'll be backticks $ curly brace, preview width px, and this is going to be like our blue border that goes around the entire thing, the entire image. So that should be good. Let's hop into the CSS to go ahead and do this. I could have also made this one a style component, but it wasn't as crazy as the other one. So let's hop into the CSS and deal with this. Below here, let's go ahead and just add in dot image dash editor, maybe editor dash wrapper. And here, this one really should have been like blue border or something, but whatever. Box dash sizing is going to be border dash box. We're going to go ahead and have a border of 4px solid, and they just use blue here, so that's all I'm going to use as well. We're going to go ahead and have a background, background dash color of transparent, and then we'll have a user dash select of none. We're going to try to make it so they can't grab it. And I think I still screwed something up because there's some weird stuff going on. But anyway, position will be absolute. We'll go ahead and put top 50% like we have been, a left 50% like we have been. I would transform, which is going to be translate, negative 50% and negative 50%. And then finally we have a Z index on this guy as well of 3, just to kind of put it above the other part as well. Okay, so now that's a lot of work that we just did. Let's hop back into the components. So there's a good chance that this part is not working. I feel pretty good about our moving image. I think that's going to be okay. I am a little bit concerned about not getting the gradient put over all the way. So if the gradient's not going to work properly, I'm going to go ahead and copy paste from the other side and bring it in, and I'll just show y'all kind of what I did if anything was broken. So let's go ahead and hop in the front and give it a refresh and hope here. So it's a little bit hard to see, but I can't tell if our background is there or not. I don't think it's showing up. Let's just take a look here. Let's go into here. So our background, I typoed something because as you can see, it's getting wiped out. So I did typo something in here. Let me go ahead and hop into GitHub and take a look to see what I typoed, and then hopefully we can get that fixed. All right, so I pasted it back in. I don't see much changes. Let's just see if it wants to work now. Heck, maybe even like typoed something else outside of this, and that's why it's breaking. But let's see if it's working now. Okay, now we can definitely see that there's a border around this, and it seems like our moving is not quite working. Oh, it's because I never actually put the on click on our component, I think. So let's go ahead and hop back in there and make sure we actually add the on click there. So let's come down here. This needs to go ahead and come on our div here. On mouse down is going to be equal to image clicked. Hopefully this is the only thing that's wrong. If those are the only two things that were wrong, I typed something in here and something happened in here, that'll be fine. And also before I end the episode, I'm going to go ahead and clean these up and give it a second for you guys to take a look again. But I just want to go ahead and test it out, make sure everything's working first, and then I'll go ahead and do that. So let's hop back into the front end one more time here. Let's go ahead and give this a nice refresh. I'm going to go and blur my screen while I grab a new image. All right, so now hopefully you can see that we can move it up, move it down, so on and so forth. And if we go back, I'm gonna blur my screen for a second again to see if the left and right is also working. So I guess this one wasn't a good image as well, but once we start zooming in, we should be able to move it left and right. But that is looking good. So now let's go ahead and wrap up the episode by setting up our control on the bottom. Now we won't be able to actually do any zooming or anything in this video. We're just gonna go ahead and set it up so we can get the input. This is gonna be probably a little bit of a longer episode because there's quite a bit of styling and stuff to do inside of the modal control, but it is what it is. And also, let me go ahead and clean up our component, the background thing inside of our component. That way you guys can see that as well real quick. So here is a cleaned up version of our style components. Now, I don't know if this will hurt anything. I doubt it, but I don't know. But here you go. If you guys want to take a really quick look, I'll pause for a second. You guys can go ahead and pause the video and see exactly how it looked. I might have typoed something inside here and I don't know what it was, but this is what it's supposed to look like. So now that we've given a quick second here, let's go ahead and hop into our Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and create a new component. So it's going to be edit media modal, and this is going to be controls.tsx. And we'll go ahead and create an edit media modal and controls.css. Let's hop into the TSX, go and import React, from React. Then let's go ahead and import our /, and this is edit media modal controls.css. And then let's go and export const, and this is going to be simple edit media modal controls and react.fc, make an arrow function. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and set up a div really quick. So return, set up a div, the class name equal to edit dash media. I cannot type, I'm sorry guys, media modal controls. So there is that. Okay, so the problem with this, we have to set up a custom like slider, so that's going to be fun. Let's go and bring in the zoom level, which is going to be equal to use selector. All we're going to be doing here is basically updating our zoom level and then passing it to our state so that we can go ahead and re-render our image. So this is going to be state.edit media. But like I said, the challenge here is that we're going to have to go ahead and create a custom slider because that's what Twitter does. We're going to go ahead and dispatch. This is going to be an app dispatch equal to use dispatch like so. Okay. And then we're also going to go ahead and say const on zoom changed equal to, and this is going to be react.change event on an HTML, and this is an input element. Input element, like so. Go ahead and set this up, and here we're going to go ahead and dispatch, and we're going to go ahead and dispatch update zoom level, and in here we're going to go ahead and say plus e dot current target dot value. I really hate how all the values are strings. You have to do this, but what can you do with HTML? And then that's good to go. And then we need to go ahead and say const left width is equal to, and this is to set up how much spacing or how much we have on the left of the slider. So we're going to say if our zoom level, and there's probably a more elegant way to do this, is less than 50, but this is what kind of worked for me. We're going to go ahead and return backticks $ curly brace, and this is going to be zoom level, and then divided by 2, and then plus 2. So we need to go ahead and actually throw it in this divided by 2 plus 2. We basically just need to give it a little bit more spacing. That way we have a little bit of wiggle room, and then return. This one's going to be backticks $ curly brace parenthesis zoom level divided by 2%. So if we're less than 50%, with the way that we're setting up the sliders and stuff, we just want to get a little bit of wiggle room. And the same thing on the right, const right width is equal to an arrow function. Whoops, I don't even know how I did that, but okay. And then once again, if our zoom level this time is going to be, I guess it's still less than 50. I don't know what's going on here. Whoops. If zoom level is less than 50 again, we're going to go ahead and return backticks $ curly brace. And in here, we're going to go ahead and say 100 minus, and then zoom level divided by 2 minus 2, and then %. Once again, we're just going to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room here, and I'll figure out what's going on with this in a second. And then otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and return acting strange. I don't know what's going on. Backticks $ curly brace 100 minus zoom level, and then divided by 2%. And the reason why we're doing divided by 2 is because it goes up to 200. So we're trying to get like a range between 0 and 100%. All right, so now that is fine. I don't know what this zoom out is. I think this must come from Material UI. So let's go ahead and set this up. So we're going to have a zoom out from Material UI, and it's just going to be plain and simple. We're going to go ahead and have a div class name equal to, and this can be edit dash media modal, and then slider dash group, and this thing will get really ugly. So we're going to say zoom level is greater than 0, and we're going to have a div, a div with a class name equal to edit dash media dash modal dash slider dash left. Okay, and this is going to have a style on it equal to, and our width is going to be equal to backticks $ curly brace and left width, and call that function. Okay, and then let's go ahead and close that. So it's going to be the left side. We're going to have an input. Inside the input, we're going to have a class name equal to, and this is going to be edit dash media dash modal slider. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and have a type equal to range. We're going to go ahead and have a value. Value is going to be equal to zoom level. We'll go ahead and have a min equal to 0, have a max equal to 200. This is arbitrary. It could have been 100, 100, whatever. On input is equal to on zoom changed. And then let's go ahead and close this guy. And then below this, we're going to have a zoom level is not equal to 200, so it's not maxed out. And we're going to have a div with a class name equal to edit dash media modal slider right. And then we're going to have a style on this guy as well equal to, we'll have a width backticks $ curly brace. This is going to be right width. Go ahead and call that, and then let's go ahead and close out of this. So that is this entire guy, other than me spelling left width wrong. So left width like so. And now what we need to go ahead and do is style this guy up and throw it in. I know this episode's getting pretty long and there is a bit of CSS that we need to add into this, but this is all we're going to go ahead and do. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up after this. So let's go ahead and hop into the CSS really quick. So we'll start out with our .edit-media-modal-controls. This part should be pretty simple. Let's have a width of 100%, of a height of 48 px. Again, this might have to change in a future episode, but it is what it is. It works for us now. Display will be flex. Go and justify content in the center. Align items in the center. We're gonna have a gap of about 8px on these. Whoops, 8px. Then we'll go ahead and do our edit -media modal slider, and then here we're gonna go ahead and hide some stuff. So we're gonna say .web kit -appearance. And this is going to go ahead and be none. So basically we're going to go ahead and hide the default slider. Our width is going to be 298 px. We're going to go ahead and have a height of about 4 px. We're going to have a border -radius of 2 px. We're still going to have a background of transparent. We're going to go ahead and outline whenever we click on it to none, just in case. We're going to have a position of absolute, and we're going to have a left of 0 and a top of -2 px. And this is so that we can put the new stuff on. I don't know why it was the index of 10 here, but I'm going to go ahead and play along. Next, let's go ahead and say edit -media modal slider group. And here we're going to go ahead and say width once again is 298 px. We're going to go have a position of relative, and then a display of flex, and a justify content in the center, and align items in the center. Next, we're going to have our .edit -media -modal -slider -left. Here we're going to have position, position of absolute. We're going to have left of 0 and a top of 0. This is going to be the left slider bar part. The height is going to be 4 px. We're going to have a background -color of RGB, just RGB 29, 155, 55, 240, so Twitter blue. We're going to have a border radius on this guy of 2 px. Next we'll have our edit -media modal -slider -right, and here we're going to have something very similar. We're going to have a position of absolute once again. This time we're going to have right of 0, so it's going to start on the right, top of 0, and then the height of 4 px. Let me go ahead and fix this. Height of 4 px. We're going to have a background, maybe back, I can't type, ground -color RGB, and this one is going to be 142, 205, 248. This is ripped straight off of Twitter. And a border -radius of 2 px once again. And now we need to go ahead and update like the specific slider thumb thing, whatever we want to call it. So .edit -media -modal -slider ::web kit, and it's going to be slider -thumb. And here we're going to go ahead and have .web kit appearance again of none. We're going to have appearance of none. We're going to have a width of 16 px. We're going to have a height of 16 px and a background -color of RGB. And this one is going to be 29, 155, 240. And then we're going to go ahead and have a box -shadow. And here we're going to be RGB A, and then 255, maybe 255, 255, 255, and then 0.2, and then 0 px, and 0 px, and 7 px, RGBA. And then here we'll have 255, 255, 255, 0.15. Once again, this is stolen straight from Twitter. And 0 px, 1 px, 3px, and 1px. And then finally, we're going to have a cursor pointer on this guy, and we're going to have a border dash radius of going to be 100%. We have to do the same thing once again. So edit dash media dash modal slider colon dash moz dash and then range thumb. So it's going to be for like Mozilla. And here we're going to do something similar. So width 16px, have a height of 16px, a background dash color of the same thing, RGB, and 29,155,240. Here we're going to have a box shadow the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this because I'm too lazy, and it's going to be the same as here. So I could have just copy pasted that entire top part. It is what it is. Just going to make sure height is spelled properly, and in theory that should be our slider. Now there's a good chance I screwed something up here, and that's going to be fun to debug. So now let's quickly hop into our edit media modal and throw it in there. So now we can go ahead and get rid of our bottom controls. Let's go ahead and delete this. Now this will be edit, whoops, media modal controls, whoops, modal, I could type, that'd be cool. Controls, there we go. Save that guy up, and now we hope and pray that I didn't screw anything up. So let's go ahead and hop in here and refresh. I did miss one thing, as you saw there for a second. Let me blur my screen. So we forgot the plus, so let's go ahead and deal with that. So underneath our other part, we need to go ahead and put in whoops, zoom in. Let's go ahead and bring that in from Material UI, save it up. Let's hop into the front end again. Now you can see as we zoom in and out, it's not doing anything on the screen because we had to actually add the logic in the next episode, but you can see that our custom little bar here is working. Cool. So we didn't screw anything up. We got everything primarily working, so that is good. Next episode, we're going to go ahead and pull everything together, and it's going to be the most complicated, so we need to really lock in, so to speak, as the kids say nowadays. But if you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out here with the YouTube algorithm. If you do want to see where we started from absolute scratch to get the point right now, there's going to be a playlist in the end screen coming up, like right over here. Webcam slipped, I don't know. But with that being said, y'all, hope you have a great day. This has been Ethan Uncoder, and I'll see you all in the next video.